However, this is done in a way that is not in our consciousness. You don't realize it is happening, but it's done at the level of subconscious. A message is sent to you and you don't realize what is happening. Now, if we had a video here, we could have shown many examples, and this is experiments that have been plentiful in psychology, how by flashing messages on a television screen can make an imprint in your mind and make you think according to that imprint. Another thing that the mass media, a general effect of the mass media, is to desensitize. Desensitization, meaning it makes you feel that something is ordinary and you're no longer troubled by it. You no longer have fear of it. To be desensitized. So when we see violence, it's ordinary to us. Somebody's head being blown off, somebody's limbs being blown off. If we see it on television, we don't flinch. If we see, for example, two unmarried people engaging in relations, we don't think of it as something being bad. Where back in the 1960s, 1950s, this was considered something to be despicable. But today, because of us being desensitized, it is something ordinary and normal. Another general effect of the mass media, brothers and sisters, is escapism. That means to free oneself, to free yourself from the difficulties of life. And this is why many people take drugs. Many people take drugs, why? Not just to experience a high, but to escape. To escape from the difficulties they face in their lives. Another aspect or general effect of mass media, and this is something we'll be talking about later on, is what is known as occult symbolism. The occult, brothers and sisters, which we will define greater later on, refers to magic. And symbolism means signs or things that represent it. If we look in the media today, we find many signs of occult symbolisms. For example, vampires. Vampires represent the occult. Today, many young children have an asphyxiation. They are fascinated by vampires. Fascinated so much you see them buying plastic false teeth and running around the high street wearing them. Another symbolism is blood. Blood is something we find in satanic worship and sacrifice. Killing for shaitan. And we find today people are obsessed with this idea of blood. Many toys that represent blood. Occult symbolism in mass media. If we look at one particular industry, the music industry, we find, brothers and sisters, all of these general effects boil down into one pot. We find all these different effects, escapism, desensitization, occult symbolism, all together in particular recording artists and in particular records. The problem with music for most people see music as being a form of entertainment. That is, you just listen to it just to pass time away, just to have fun. However, in this next experiment which we shall do, we shall see that there are many messages behind music and the recording artists that make this music. Let's look at a song from 1997. A very famous song. It is called the Barbie Doll song by a group called Aqua. And this song was a #1 hit, not just in the United Kingdom, across Europe. In this song, I want you to listen to some of the lyrics, and I'm going to ask some questions after I've said these lyrics. And so they say, I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair and dress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. This is a #1 song. #1 in the charts. Sold millions. Listened to every single record outlet across the country. Radio stations across the country. Played in millions of cars across the country. A #1 song. But what's this song about? Can anybody help me? Brothers?
About the doll, isn't it?
It's about, oh, okay, it's about a Barbie doll. Anybody else?
It's in the theme of sexual theme.
Okay, it has a sexual undertone to it. Anybody else want more? One more, please. Okay.
Promoting materialism.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. It is promoting materialism. So we have in response to this, three. One, it's sexual undertones, promoting materialism, and it's about the Barbie doll, the doll which all of us, I think, we have seen before. However, let's listen further to the lyrics of this song. And they say, I'm a blonde bimbo girl in the fantasy world. Dress me up, make it tight. I'm your dolly. You're my doll. Rock and roll, feel the glamour in pink. Kiss me here, touch me there, hanky-panky. You can touch, you can play if you say I'm always yours. So what's this telling us? Now, we may laugh, but remember what I said. This record sold millions. This record was heard all over the country. It's a European hit. A hit all across Europe. And not only did adults listen to it, little children listened to it. But what do we see from the rest of the lyrics? It confirms what we said at the beginning. That it has sexual undertones. It's about materialism. And these are the messages fed into the minds of young and old. And so, this brings us on to the main part of our discussion today about the devil in a song. About music and the messages that it gives to us as we listen to music. Sometimes we don't sit back and think, what is this person saying? What are they talking about? Most people are too busy to be critical, to listen to a record or a song and to say, well, hey, what's the messages these people are giving out? We don't have time to unpick, to unravel a song and think about what is being promoted by this music. But if we were to do this, if we look at contemporary music, we will see that unfortunately today, much of contemporary music has satanic undertones. And now this didn't start, brothers and sisters. This devil in a song didn't start in the 1980s or the 1990s or the 200s. We can trace this problem over 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. If we look, for example, at the blues. The blues is an old African-American form of music. After the blues came rock and roll. After rock and roll came rock, then pop, and to what we have today. The blues has influenced, and I can say without exaggeration, almost all music forms in the Western Hemisphere today. Most of the music forms in the Western Hemisphere today, we can trace it back to the blues. Now if we look at the blues, we find the devil in the song in two ways. The first way is the theme of the music. What is the music about? Then secondly, certain individuals that make this music. So now let's look, for example, at some classical or famous blues songs from some of the most famous blues artists. We have a man by the name of John Lee Hooker, who is a quote-unquote legend in contemporary music. He has a song called One Bourbon, One Scotch and One Beer. We have another famous person by the name of Albert Collins, and he had a song called I Ain't Drunk. Tom Waits, The Piano Has Been Drinking. Jimmy Rogers, Sloppy Drunk. And Muddy Waters, who is another legend, he says, Champagne and Reefer. And Bessie Smith, Give me a pigfoot and a bottle of beer. What we can see just from the theme of these songs, and I haven't gone deep into the lyrics yet, the theme of these songs is that this type of music implants something into the mind of those people who listen to it. Those people who listen to this music, who haven't got the power of critique, looking at what is right, what is wrong, just listening away, it can make an imprint in their minds. And here we see, from blues music, one asphyxiation, one thing that many of them were concerned about, and that was drinking. Now if we look, for example, at Tim Witherspoon, another important person, he sung a very, very important record, a song, called Evening Blues. And let's look at the lyrics of this Evening Blues. He says, let's have a party and drink up a lot of beer. Let's have a party and drink up a lot of beer. Well, wine is fine, but give me lots of beer. Want to drink some beer, talk some trash this morning? Let's drink some beer, till the rooster crows at dawning. Well, wine is fine, but give me lots of beer. Now we can imagine that those people listening to these type of lyrics, how it affects them. Now this song was back in 1963, Do not think this is not happening today. The music that lots of young people are listening to today is on the same level as this, if not worse. And we shall see later on. And as we said, the devil in a song is not just about the themes or the lyrics, but about certain personalities and their commitment to Satanism. So if we look at a particular individual called Robert Johnson. Now, Robert Johnson, he died in the 1930s, and he was a very, very famous blues singer. Now, Robert Johnson is a very interesting character. Why? Because Robert Johnson did not learn a musical instrument at a young age. He wasn't a musical maestro at the age of 7 or 8, but rather a man who later on in life, overnight so to speak, learned a musical instrument. And he didn't just learn the musical instrument, but he was considered to be one of the best musicians of his time. How did that happen, and how is this possible? His brother tells us how. And I need you to focus with me as we go through this quotation. His brother said that he, Robert Johnson, told him, if you want to learn how to play anything, you want to play and how to make songs yourself, take a guitar and go to where the road crosses that way, where the crossroads is. So this brother, his brother, was told by him, Robert Johnson, the famous singer, that if you want to know how to learn a musical instrument, take yourself and your instrument and go to the crossroads. We all know what a crossroads is. The crossroads of a train track. Be sure to get there a little before 12 that night, so you know you'll be there. A big black man will walk up and take your guitar, and he will tune it. And then he will play a piece and hand it back to you. That's how I learned to play anything I want. And so he says that when you go to this crossroads, be sure to be there at midnight. When you get there, you'll see a big black man. This man will take your instrument and tune it to make sure it plays the notes very well. Then he will play a tune and give you back the instrument. From that day on, you'll be able to play an instrument very well. Who was this individual? Brothers and sisters, this big black man mentioned by Robert Johnson was no other than a shaitan, the devil. And so now we begin, brothers and sisters, to look deeper in when we talk about a devil in a song and the satanic influence of music on our young people especially. We need to, as we have been saying, trace history. And so we have looked at the blues and how themes in the blues lead somebody into satanic behavior. And also certain personalities in the blues were people who sold their souls to the devil. And this is a common theme in Western history of people wanting to become good at something, and so they sell their souls to the devil. They want to become good singers or good players. They sell themselves to the devil. And we find this praise of the devil in much of contemporary music. Let's look at some mainstream groups. Groups that are known to everybody. For example, the Beatles. For most of us, we think the Beatles were just a very successful group who played music very well. But in reality, the Beatles had their own message. The Beatles had an agenda. Paul McCartney, in Hit Parade the magazine back in 1970, he said, "We probably seem to be anti-religious. None of us believes in God." And so we see Paul McCartney, who's alive today, Sir Paul McCartney, openly telling us that they did not believe in God and they were anti-religious. Anti-religious means against religion. And if we look at the cover of a very famous record of this called Sgt. Pepper,